shall teach them diligently, diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, sit in your house.
Good morning, kids. We hope you had a wonderful week, as many of you may be on summer break. I'm Kathy.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Angeline.
I'm Dima.
All right. Does anyone remember what we went over last Sunday?
We started the book of Daniel.
That's right. We were introduced to Daniel and his three friends and saw how God used Daniel to explain King Nebuchadnezzar's dream, that there will be 4 kingdoms that will follow the Babylonians' rule. It was amazing to see that God is ultimately in control of any kingdom or king that rules on earth. This week, we will be moving on to Daniel chapter 3 and see how God protects Daniel and his 3 friends. Keep your eyes and ears out for the 3 main points we will be covering today. Number 1, God alone is worthy of worship. Number 2, God alone can be trusted to save. And lastly, number 3, God alone is powerful to save.
Thanks, Kathy. First, let's talk about King Nebuchadnezzar's golden image. He created a statue that was about 90 feet tall and 9 feet wide, and entirely made of gold. That's huge. It's about as big as 9 elephants standing on top of each other. As big as it was, his God was meaningless. It was powerless just like the rest of the idols, unlike our God, who is sovereign and full of wisdom and power. King Nebuchadnezzar declared that all the government officials were to fall down and worship this image whenever they heard the sound of a horn, a pipe, a lyre, any type of music.
But what if the officials didn't fall down and worship the golden images immediately?
They would be cast into a burning, fiery furnace full of flames and smoke and very hot temperatures. Therefore, the people bowed down and worshiped Nebuchadnezzar's golden image as soon as they heard the music. But there were 3 men who refused to bow down to this false god because they knew that there was only one true God who demands our full devotion and is the only God who should be worshipped. Why is this significant? Well, in this case, the human government called for believers to be unfaithful to God. So the right response is actually to first be obedient to God. However, we must always remember to honor our leaders as instructed in 1 Peter 2:17. Our obedience to God shouldn't be used as an excuse to sin. Anyways, let's turn over to Dima and learn more about these 3 men who refused to worship King Nebuchadnezzar's golden statue.
Thank you, Sarah. So there were these men, Chaldeans, who were wise men of Babylon, and they spoke badly to the king about the Jews. They were very jealous of them and wanted to remove them in any way possible. They told the king Nebuchadnezzar that these Jews didn't care about the king and his commandments, and they did not serve the king's God, and did not worship the idol that the king had built. In their jealousy, these officials wanted to execute the Jews. Throughout history of time, true believers in God were always persecuted and treated in a similar way. King Nebuchadnezzar was furious and angry. How could these foreigners, Jews, refuse to worship my gods? He said, who is God? Who is the God who will deliver you out of my hands? But the king Nebuchadnezzar had no idea who he is dealing with. He is dealing with the real God. He did not realize that God of the Jews is the real God who is in control, and he is the Lord of lords and the King of kings and all the nations. He created this universe. In his pride, King Nebuchadnezzar set himself against God, a foolish mistake, for God crushes the proud, as Isaiah 13:11 says. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had made up their minds to serve God, no matter what. They were not afraid of King Nebuchadnezzar or even death. They had the right fear of God and would not bow down to any other god or idol. These 3 men knew that God had the power to deliver them, even from the fiery furnace. I love the way they answered the king Nebuchadnezzar by saying, our God, whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand. But if not, be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up. They trusted God. They depended fully on him, and they believe that his will is best, even if he doesn't even save them. Sometimes it's hard to understand when God does not save from trouble, but we trust and believe in his perfect will, as these young Jewish men did. Now, Angeline, I will talk about how God alone is powerful to save.
Thanks, Dima. Nebuchadnezzar was so angry that he ordered the furnace turned up 7 times hotter. Then he ordered his men to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and they were thrown into the burning furnace. Nebuchadnezzar's order was so urgent that the executioners didn't even have time to protect themselves from the flames. But look! Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were walking around unharmed, freely in the fire. By faith they had quenched the flames, and there was a 4th man walking, one like the Son of God. God has sent his messengers to be with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then Nebuchadnezzar called Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God. Come out and come here. The 3 men had been unharmed by the fire. He praised the men for ignoring his word, allowing their bodies to be burned, and not worshiping any other gods except their God. Once again, God had instructed Nebuchadnezzar that he alone is God. Unlike worthless idols, the Most High God is trustworthy and powerful to save. So Nebuchadnezzar commanded all his subjects to respect and honor God. Now Kathy will conclude with our lesson.
That's right. So King Nebuchadnezzar was amazed that God saved Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego from the fiery flames of the furnace. His very words were, "No other God is able to rescue in this way." And he was absolutely right. No other God can save. Only God can. In fact, we all face something much scarier than a fiery furnace, and that's sin and death. But God alone rescued us, even while we're all sinners, by sending Jesus to die on the cross for us so that our sins can be totally forgiven. And so death can no longer have any hold on us anymore. Will you entrust your life to him as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego did? Take some time this coming week to think about that. Before we go, though, just want to remind you all that this coming week will be the last week of our Zoom family devotional lessons on Wednesday and Friday at 4 p.m. If you've never checked it out, this is the week. If you have, great. And keep tuning in. We will have a fun quiz on Friday, June 26th during the Zoom time. Hope you all can make it. That's all we have for today. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of the week. Until next time, bye.
Bye.
You shall teach them diligently, diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, when you rise, when you walk by the way.